Stand tall, breathe deeply, and open your spirit, because this is not just another moment. This is an appointment with destiny. This is the hour where heaven leans in your direction, where the atmosphere shifts to accommodate what has been spoken over your life. You are standing in the threshold of a divine turnaround, and every force that once resisted you is losing its power. Something extraordinary is aligning on your behalf, something that defies logic, something that carries the fingerprint of the supernatural. There comes a moment in every person's life when the ordinary is interrupted by the extraordinary, when the natural gives way to the supernatural, and when the path you've walked suddenly aligns with a higher plan. This is that moment. This is the divine appointment you didn't schedule yet were destined to arrive at. It is the moment where everything in your life, every challenge, every victory, every unanswered question converges into a single point of supernatural significance. You are not standing here by chance. You are standing here because destiny has drawn you into its gravitational pull. Heaven has leaned in your direction and marked this moment as a turning point designed specifically for you. In this divine appointment, the atmosphere itself begins to shift. What once felt heavy now begins to lighten. What once seemed impossible now begins to show signs of possibility. You become aware that something greater is orchestrating details in your life, something beyond your strength or strategy. You begin to sense that the invisible realm is more active than the visible, that solutions are forming before you even articulate the problem, and that the doors you've knocked on in faith are unlocking behind the scenes. This shift is not imagined. It is divinely engineered, shaped by forces that work beyond human perception. Every divine appointment carries the evidence of heaven's involvement. You may not see the full picture yet, but you can sense that the wind has changed direction. You may feel a stir in your spirit, a whisper reminding you that what has been difficult will not remain difficult. You may even feel a renewed energy, a sudden awakening inside you, urging you to get ready for movement. That isn't coincidence. It is confirmation that heaven is shifting things on your behalf. It is the reminder that you have stepped into a zone where divine timing and divine purpose intersect. As you stand in this moment, the weight of past battles begins to lift. The heaviness that once sat on your chest begins to dissolve because you are stepping into a spiritually appointed season where things begin to work not by force, but by favor. Where you once had to push, now things will flow. Where you once had to fight for every inch, now you will see acceleration. This is what happens when heaven steps into your timeline. The ordinary rules of effort and resistance are overridden by divine alignment, creating an atmosphere where breakthroughs come with ease. In this appointment, you start recognizing that even what seemed random was part of a divine setup. The people who walked away, the opportunities that fell apart, the delays that frustrated you, none of it was wasted. Everything has been guiding you, maturing you, and positioning you for what is unfolding now. What once felt like a setback was actually a recalibration, steering you toward a greater outcome. When heaven marks a moment, everything before it becomes preparation, even the things you didn't understand. Now, the realm around you begins to feel charged. Opportunities that were once out of reach start moving in your direction. Conversations begin to align with your purpose. Thoughts become clearer. Decisions become easier. This is because you are no longer operating on your old energy. You are moving under divine influence. And with that influence comes a supernatural flow that carries you into places you once could only imagine. Heaven is not just observing you. It is assisting you, guiding you, and aligning events in your favor. In divine appointments, timing is everything. What didn't work last year or last month or even last week suddenly becomes possible. This is because you have stepped into a moment where divine timing has synchronized with your readiness. Opportunities that were once closed are reopening, not because circumstances changed on their own, but because heaven has authorized this shift. When divine timing meets divine purpose, the impossible becomes accessible, and the dreams that once felt far away begin to draw near. You start to realize that you are not waiting for something to happen. Something is already happening. The shift is already underway. The answers are already unfolding. The breakthrough has already started in the unseen realm and is making its way into the visible. Every quiet nudge, every unexpected idea, every burst of hope is evidence that this divine appointment is active. You are being pulled into alignment with the plans that have been waiting for you, plans that carry your name and cannot be claimed by anyone else. As you move through this moment, your perspective begins to change. What once frightened you no longer holds the same power. What once discouraged you no longer carries the same weight. You begin to see from a higher vantage point, recognizing that the challenges you faced were only temporary barriers on the path to something greater. You understand now that heaven was not denying you, it was preparing you. Every delay was refining you, and every disappointment was redirecting you toward a divinely orchestrated outcome. In this divine appointment with destiny, you are reminded that nothing about your journey has been accidental. Everything has been timed, measured, and carefully used to bring you to this exact moment. You didn't come here empty, and you are not standing here unnoticed. Heaven has leaned toward you with intention, favor, and purpose, creating an atmosphere where your breakthrough is not just possible, but inevitable. When a declaration is spoken from a higher realm, it carries a weight that human language alone cannot contain. The statement that a Christmas miracle will manifest before 5 December is not a casual phrase or an emotional sentiment. It is a divine decree that carries the authority of heaven behind it. This kind of declaration is infused with intention, precision, and the power to shift the course of circumstances. It is not shaped by human logic or limited by earthly timelines, for when heaven speaks, time bows, situations adjust, and realities begin to transform to accommodate what has been spoken. You are not receiving an ordinary promise. You are standing under a supernatural proclamation. Every divine decree carries a force that transcends natural limitations. When it is spoken, it begins to move through the unseen realm, influencing the spiritual atmosphere, mobilizing angelic assistance, and aligning events with divine purpose. You may not see the movement immediately, but the decree has already been activated. It begins to travel through the corridors of time, shaping moments, redirecting circumstances, and preparing the environment for the manifestation of what has been declared. A decree of this magnitude begins working long before it becomes visible, ensuring that nothing can interfere with its fulfillment. A Christmas miracle is not defined by seasonal tradition, but by divine intervention. It is the kind of breakthrough that interrupts the ordinary pattern of your days, bringing something unexpected, unexplainable, and undeniably supernatural. When this miracle is attached to a specific time before 5 December, it reveals intentionality, not coincidence. It means heaven has already set a time, already appointed a moment, already marked a date where something extraordinary will intersect with your life. The timing is not random, it is purposeful, strategic, and deeply significant. This decree enters the atmosphere like a seed planted in fertile soil. It begins to germinate beneath the surface long before the evidence appears. In the same way, seeds do not sprout the moment they touch the earth. Divine decrees do not always show immediate signs, but beneath the surface of your life, things are already taking form. Answers are becoming structured. Breakthroughs are gaining momentum. Solutions are being assembled piece by piece. The invisible realm is working tirelessly to bring forth what has been spoken over your life. When heaven issues a declaration, it does not consider the opposition, obstacles, or limitations that stand in the way. It does not measure the size of the mountain before commanding it to move. It does not negotiate with resistance. It overrides it. The decree carries within it the power to dismantle what was meant to stop you and to clear a path where one did not exist before. Even if circumstances appear unchanged on the surface, they are being altered at the foundation. The decree is already restructuring outcomes. This divine proclamation carries assurance, not the kind that comes from wishful thinking, but the kind rooted in authority. Authority is different from hope. It is different from desire. Authority speaks knowing that what is spoken must respond. When heaven releases a decree, it speaks from a place where resistance holds no power. Every barrier must weaken. Every hindrance must bow. Every closed door must reconsider its position. The decree carries an irrefutable command that creation itself must honor. When a promise is tied to a specific moment, it reveals preparation. It means heaven has already gone ahead of you. While you were navigating your challenges, heaven was preparing your miracle. While you were wrestling with doubts, the solution was being fashioned. While you were enduring hardship, the answer was already being scheduled. Nothing about this decree is premature or delayed. It arrives exactly when you are ready to receive it, even if you feel unprepared. The decree not only sets things in motion, but also begins to realign your inner world. Your thoughts, expectations, perceptions, and emotions start shifting without you fully understanding why. Hope rises in places that once felt numb. Faith awakens where fear used to live. Confidence emerges even when circumstances appear unchanged. This inner alignment is part of the preparation required for the miracle to manifest. You are being positioned from the inside out to receive what is on its way. As this decree operates in your life, you may begin to notice synchronicities, unexpected favor, surprising conversations, sudden clarity, or small breakthroughs that act as signs that the larger miracle is approaching. These are not coincidences. They are indicators that the decree is active, that the atmosphere around you is charged with divine activity, and that the manifestation is drawing near. Every sign is a reminder that heaven's word carries unstoppable force. The declaration that a Christmas miracle will come before 5th of December is a divine summons for everything connected to your blessing to come forth. It compels every resource, every opportunity, every answer, and every open door to begin aligning with your life. It is a signal sent into the spiritual realm, calling forth what has been held back and releasing what belongs to you. This decree is not passive. It is active, living, and powerful, moving on your behalf, even when you cannot see it. Every setback you endured was not a sign of abandonment, but a sign of preparation shaping you in ways you could not recognize at the time. The disappointments you walked through were never meant to break you. They were meant to build a strength in you that could sustain the weight of what is coming. Every tear watered the soil of your destiny, and every unanswered question pushed you deeper into the journey of becoming. What felt like loss was actually transformation. What felt like stagnation was repositioning. Everything you survived was preparing you for a breakthrough that required a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of you. There were seasons where you questioned why certain doors closed so abruptly or why certain relationships shifted without warning. You may have wondered why something you prayed for slipped through your hands or why an opportunity you believed was yours seemed to vanish. Yet each of those moments carried a hidden purpose. They were clearing distractions, removing counterfeits, and protecting you from paths that would have limited your growth. Even when you didn't understand, heaven was orchestrating the details. What you thought was rejection was rerouting, leading you to a future far greater than what you envisioned. Delay has a way of feeling like punishment, but in reality, it is often refinement. The waiting season stretched you in ways that comfort never could. It stretched your patience, your faith, your emotional endurance, and your inner strength. In that waiting, something powerful was happening inside you. You were learning to trust beyond what you could see. You were learning to keep moving even when progress was invisible. You were learning to hold on to hope even when silence felt overwhelming. Every moment of delay was preparing you to receive what you once would have mishandled. In the moments where you felt forgotten, you were actually being fortified. Every unanswered prayer, every pause, every quiet season built layers of spiritual muscle that are now essential for where you are going. You were not being overlooked. You were being strengthened. You were developing the capacity to endure pressure without collapsing, to rise after setbacks, and to keep believing when evidence was absent. This inner resilience is what qualifies you to carry the blessing that is approaching. Without the process, the promise would not have room to flourish. Your struggles were not wasted. They taught you wisdom that cannot be learned through comfort. They revealed truths about your character, your boundaries, your purpose, and your potential. The challenges you faced forced you to confront parts of yourself you might have ignored, fears, insecurities, doubts, and old beliefs that needed to be dismantled. Through every hardship, you were shedding the version of yourself that could not go into your next season. What felt like breaking was actually the shedding of limitations you no longer needed. There were nights when you cried out for relief and mornings when you wondered if anything would ever change. But even those moments were markers of your transformation. Each struggle made you more compassionate, more discerning, more courageous, and more aware of your true strength. You emerged from battles that others would not have survived. You rose after storms that should have exhausted you. Your past pain did not weaken you. It refined you into someone capable of greater endurance, greater clarity, and greater impact. Every detour you encountered had purpose attached to it. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't fall behind. You weren't disqualified. You were being rerouted into divine timing. The moments that felt like delays were actually aligning you with people, opportunities, and environments that would support your future rather than sabotage it. If certain things had happened earlier, you might have settled for less, accepted misalignment, or welcomed things that were not equipped to stay. Timing protected you from premature blessings that would have turned into burdens. As you look back, patterns begin to make sense. The confusion you endured now reveals itself as preparation. The losses that broke you now reveal themselves as redirection. The moments you felt alone now reveal themselves as seasons where strength was built. You are beginning to understand that nothing was wasted. Every chapter pointed you toward this moment. Every detour shaped your character, and every tear carried purpose. The evidence of that purpose is unfolding now in the alignment you feel, the clarity that is emerging, and the shift happening in your spirit. Your past pain did not merely prepare you, it positioned you. It positioned you to recognize true opportunities when they appear. It positioned you to walk away from what doesn't serve your destiny. It positioned you to value what you once took for granted. It positioned you to step into this new season with wisdom and authority. Without those difficult experiences, you would not have the discernment, maturity, or resilience required for the miracle that is coming. The pain was not punishment. It was preparation dressed in disguise. Every hardship you endured fertilized the ground for a breakthrough that will not resemble anything you lost. The battles that tried to break you actually built the foundation for the blessing that is on its way. The tears that fell were seeds. The struggles were soil. The endurance was cultivation. You are now standing on ground enriched by everything you have survived. And what grows from this soil will surpass everything that preceded it. Your miracle is not contingent upon your perfection. And this truth becomes liberating when you fully embrace it. Too often you have carried the weight of feeling inadequate, unprepared, or unworthy, believing that your past mistakes or personal shortcomings disqualified you from the blessings you hoped for. But this miracle is not arriving because you have performed flawlessly. It is arriving because grace has gone ahead of you. Grace has worked when you couldn't. Grace has covered what you didn't know. Grace has filled the gaps left by your humanity. You are not being rewarded for perfection. You are being uplifted by divine favor. This season reminds you that resilience holds more value than flawlessness. You are being honored for your ability to endure, to rise, to persist even when circumstances tried to silence you. Every time you chose faith over fear, even in your weakest moments, you activated spiritual strength that carried you forward. Resilience is what kept you from collapsing under pressure. And resilience is what heaven rewards. Your miracle is not showing up because you never fell. It is showing up because you kept standing after every fall. Your faith, even when small, has been working behind the scenes in ways you didn't recognize. You may have doubted at times, questioned at times, and even hesitated. But faith does not require perfection to be effective. It only requires sincerity. Each step you took despite uncertainty, each prayer you whispered through tears, and each moment you refused to give up became a seed planted in the spiritual realm. Those seeds have been growing quietly, and now their harvest is beginning to manifest. Your faith was enough because it was real. There were days when you couldn't articulate your prayers, yet heaven heard the cry of your heart. There were nights when you didn't have the strength to speak hope, but your endurance itself became a prayer. You continued moving even when you moved slowly. You kept believing even when the evidence contradicted your desire. You kept showing up even when disappointment tried to convince you otherwise. This miracle is acknowledging every internal battle you fought and every moment of silent perseverance that no one saw. Grace did not just accompany you, it strategically positioned you. It shielded you from people who would have drained your spirit. It protected you from decisions that would have derailed your path. It redirected you from situations that appeared promising but were not aligned with your destiny. Grace has been guiding your steps, opening unseen doors and closing hidden traps. Even in your imperfections, grace ensured you remained on a path that led toward fulfillment rather than destruction. This miracle is not arriving because you were always strong, but because you were willing to grow. Growth often comes through pain, uncertainty, and stretching places within you that felt uncomfortable. In each phase of your growth, you shed old fears, outdated beliefs, and emotional burdens that no longer served your purpose. That growth created space for this miracle. You evolved into someone capable of receiving what you once longed for, but were not fully ready to carry. You stepped into a level of spiritual maturity that did not come easily. You learned to trust timing rather than force outcomes. You learned to release control rather than cling to fear. You learned to surrender rather than stress. This maturity is not perfection. It is wisdom developed through experience, wisdom that allows you to recognize what aligns with your future and what distracts you from it. This miracle is coming to someone who has learned through trial and error how to discern the difference between temporary desire and divine alignment. Your journey has proven that imperfection does not disqualify you from destiny. Instead, your imperfections made room for humility, and humility opened the door for transformation. You learned how to lean on faith rather than pride, how to ask for help rather than pretend to be strong, and how to embrace vulnerability without feeling weak. These qualities shaped you into someone who can steward blessings responsibly. You are now a vessel prepared by experience, strengthened by hardship, and refined by grace. Your readiness for this miracle is not measured by outward performance, but by the internal posture of your spirit. You have cultivated resilience, humility, growth, and wisdom, all essential qualities for managing what is coming. These qualities were not built overnight. They were formed in the valleys, in the waiting rooms, in the lonely places, and in the quiet moments of surrender. Now, your spirit stands aligned with the energy of breakthrough, attracting the very miracle that has been waiting for you to reach this level of readiness. This miracle is coming because grace has gone before you. Faith has sustained you, resilience has strengthened you, and growth has prepared you. It is not arriving because you have lived perfectly, but because you continued moving forward in imperfect faith, trusting that something greater was orchestrating your